Since WWE 2K18, I've made this exact type of video and I'm just continuing the tradition here. Universe mode is slightly better this year, so I want to show off how I believe you can make the best universe mode for yourself. So the first thing I'm going to go over to is the settings or the options. These are like the way that my options are set up. I have Intergender Wrestling on because if you want to draft less wrestlers, if you have Intergender Wrestling on, it just, you just have the opportunity for more matches. However, I have Intergender Wrestling on and a large roster, so the opportunity to have a lot of matches is endless. I have automatic rivalries off only because I like to book the rivalries myself. Like, I like to go in and actually make them myself. I have this off as well because I don't really want the game messing around with my tag teams and my breakups and stuff, like, because I also want to have control over that. Crowd reaction changes, I'm fine with changing. I like to see where the game goes with that. I'll turn injuries off because, I mean, this is a cool thing to have on if you don't have plans for somebody, but like it's a little awkward if somebody's injured and you didn't want that to happen. And then of course I have superstar entrances on. And when it comes to the cash-ins, I have this all the way down because I'm still not really sure how the AI cashes in. Again, this is where I'd rather have control over when the AI cashes in or not. And because usually, I think in the last couple of games, they would just cash in the very next week. And it was just very, very annoying. I don't really know what they do this game, but I still would rather have control over it. And then that's basically the entirety of the options here. Now I'm gonna go over my calendar. I do not have NXT, but this universe mode thing will definitely work if you do have NXT, but I do just have Raw and SmackDown. And take a look at this. Every single pay-per-view is a 2-night PLE. And honestly, I'm probably gonna get rid of this, but every single pay-per-view I have is a 2-night PLE, with each match having 6 matches on the card, because you actually can't do 5. You cannot book Triple H style. You have to do at least 6 at the very least, which is interesting. But yeah, so everything I have is 2 nights because the more matches, the better. And that's just how I feel about that. You definitely don't have to do 2-night PLEs all the time. And if you have NXT here and you like to book it the way I book it by putting everything on the 4th week, you can have NXT deadline in here too. Like if you were to go to create new, you can go add PLE and then you can add the same PLE or add like a different show, or like, yeah, even just like any show on this day. And if you wanted to add NXT PLEs, you can also just do that. And you can put NXT PLEs on every Saturday. I like to organize it to where all my pay-per-views are down here on the 4th week because the calendar definitely has it a little bit all over the place. And I don't really like looking at it because it looks like clutter. So I like have everything down here. And then here's Raw and SmackDown. As far as the way that you draft your rosters, I have 80 and 5 matches on a show. And so what you can do is, it depends on how many titles you have. I have like 4 titles per show and a Money in the Bank contract, but you can definitely add more depending on your situation. I think that for 3 shows, 50 wrestlers is fine, but for 2, I like to have 80. And honestly, the number doesn't really matter necessarily. You could still have a ton of matches and a lot of your wrestlers could still get lost in the shuffle. What I like to do is I like to go ahead and draft tag teams first. Like I like to go down the list and see what tag teams I need to draft. So I draft tag teams first because it's a massive chunk of your roster. And I like to usually draft 10 teams per show. Then I'll do women's wrestlers because I like to do at least 30 per show, if not more. And then basically you can just do everything else. And you can even just go through the entire roster here. And just like if you wanted British Bulldog, you can hit edit and then assign show, and you could just assign them anywhere you want. And that's how most people I think are gonna do it. So you could theoretically go ahead and do that. Bronson Reed, I can put him anywhere I want. If I had NXT, I could put him in NXT as well. I want to talk quickly about championships because you can use the in-game championships. They're great. But I like to use custom titles simply because it resets the history, and I kind of like have everything like start over. I like having everything start over to the way that like I started the universe mode. This could be like a preference for you guys, but you also have like the multiversal infinite title. You have a bunch of My Rise unlocked titles that have no history on them, so you could also use those championships. I personally just like to download the same titles that are on the shows, but just the custom versions, and just sort of kind of have a reset of title history. But I know not everyone's going to prefer to do it the way that I like to do it. I prefer to just have the title history reset. Going over to rivalries, these are my rivalries. I'm doing 4 per show because I have 6 match PLEs on the card. So basically, this should leave room for the AI to book at least 8 matches, but maybe 3 matches per show are in the PLE. But you know, I don't think the AI is going to organize it the best way possible. However, hopefully they'll still be able to include all the rivalries and stuff. But I mean, I'll simulate to Backlash to see if they even do. I'm not 100% sure. So night 1, obviously this is what my night 1 looks like, and I actually kind of like it. It looks pretty good. And I'll simulate this real quick, and there's all the results. And then I could just simulate and go over to night 2 and see what they did here. And so yeah, okay, they got the main event being the world title. So actually, that kind of works for me. That kind of makes sense, although they did put both tag team championship matches on one show. That's not entirely like unrealistic, but you know, it is a little bit weird. But I'm not too mad about it, and I think it's perfectly fine. Again, you don't really have to draft 10 tag teams per show. I don't even think there's 10 tag teams on each show in real life. You don't have to do it the way that I do it, but I prefer to have kind of a large roster, and you know, just so that I have people to move around with, and then maybe I could do like superstar shakeups every year, and then the following year do like a redraft, because I kind of like drafting my roster. And the way that I still kind of do it with Google Docs, because I still find it a little bit easier to organize my wrestlers, but it is a little bit better as they do kind of tell you. So when you're scrolling through, I can see like Alba, I mean, I'm on my Raw show, right? She's checkmarked here, and it doesn't say that she's on any other show, which means that she's just on Raw. If I go to Alexa Bliss, it says that she's also assigned to SmackDown, but I could have a check mark on her, but I'm not going to do that. But it does tell you if they are on SmackDown. And so if they didn't have a show that they were assigned to, like Batista here doesn't have a show, I'd be like, oh, okay, I can draft Batista. So the game kind of does make it easier for you by actually telling you where your wrestlers are. Although I personally still use Google Docs to draft my roster. So this template of the way that I do this could be tailored to the way that you like it. These are basically my settings on how to make the best universe mode, and I think that you guys can utilize this to the best of your ability and do it however you like it. I personally like it this way, and I've seen a lot of people like it this way as well. A lot of people in the comments are also like always sharing the way that they do their universe modes. I've done this type of video for years. Everyone in the comments is always eager to share how they like to do theirs, so feel free to do it yourselves. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.